Welcome back, friends, to Embrace the Question. I'm so glad to be with you. We are still doing our trek through Exodus in our Bible study with me, traversal of Torah at the moment. We'll probably only do Genesis and Exodus for now, but this has been quite the journey, an Exodus of our own, if you will. We're in Exodus 28, and this is a famous chapter because it describes the priestly garments, and whole books have been written on the significance of the priestly garments. We will hit on some of these details even with this short lesson. So I hope you're ready. We're going to stay away from the King James because, my goodness, King James had some strange words for a lot of different things, and I really can't tell you what most of them mean. Apparently, it was a hard translation from ancient Hebrew to Old English, to say the least. So I'm going to stick with the ERV, the easy to read version, because they've done a lot of the legwork and tried to make the connection with the old to our current English equivalents. So we'll be using that to try to make things easier. And if we get confused, we can shift tabs over and see what the King James has to say about it. So I hope you're ready. Let's take a look at Exodus chapter 28. All right, Exodus chapter 28, verse 1. Tell your brother Aaron and his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, to come to you from the Israelites. These men will serve me as priests. Okay, these are the sons of Aaron. We already have had them named. At least Nadab and Abihu have been named previously. There seems to have been some foreshadowing that these men would be important. They came up with the elders of all of Israel. They kind of came up halfway on Mount Sinai. So we know these guys are important, but Nadab and Abihu will become synonymous with real mess-ups. In fact, they lose their lives because they don't follow rules, where they offer what it says is unauthorized fire to God. Basically, this was pulling fire from the wrong source to offer on the altar of sacrifice. They didn't follow instructions, meaning they had the wrong heart for serving God. They didn't, at least at that time, by that time, they had gotten lazy. It cost them dearly. The other two brothers took their place eventually, so Eleazar and Ithamar. Keep this in mind as we go forward. At first here, they're all four named to be priests unto the Lord. Important stuff. Also note, Moses is still on top of the mountain with his iPad. He's still trying to take all these little detailed notes down. I still am amazed because the more details that pile in, the more I'm just flabbergasted at how much there was to know. So verse 2, make special clothes for your brother Aaron. These clothes will give him honor and respect. And I would say that this is always God's intent for his kids. He wants you to have honor and he wants you to have respect. It has to do with the priesthood, yes, but consider that we are now a kingdom of priests. This still applies. The word in Hebrew for honor is kabod, meaning weight. You've heard the name Ichabod, which is the opposite of weight. It is to make light of or shame. It's the opposite of honor. So Ichabod is a name of shame, while kabod is weightiness and importance, honor and respect. Verse 3, I have given special wisdom to some of the skilled men. Tell them to make the clothes for Aaron. These clothes will show that he serves me in a special way. Then he can serve me as a priest. Verse 4, these are the clothes that the men should make: the judgment pouch, the ephod, a blue robe, a white woven robe, a turban, and a cloth belt. They must make these special clothes for your brother Aaron and his sons. Then Aaron and his sons can serve me as priests. Good friend of mine offered this last week, and I didn't mention it, but it should be mentioned now that these colors are important, significant, of course. Red, always signifying us, the people, mankind. Blue, signifying God, the heavens, the heavenly realm. Purple, signifying royalty, but a combination of the red and the blue. Your first symbol would be the royalty of Jesus, God coming into humanity and becoming our king. But it should also be noted that the purple signifies us today, a kingdom of priests made so by Christ himself. So all of this stuff has to be done in order for the sons to serve as priests. But we are suffering a little bit from these words, like a judgment pouch. The easy to read version went with judgment pouch here. It's really the breastplate, the priestly breastplate that you see mounted upon the ephod. That's one word I think they could have stuck with, just the breastplate. So we'll make that note as we move forward. Verse 5. Tell the men to use gold thread, fine linen, and purple and blue and red yarn. So they're your colors. Use gold thread, fine linen, and purple, blue and purple and red yarn to make the ephod. This must be the work of a very skilled person. At each shoulder of the ephod, there should be a shoulder piece. These shoulder pieces should be tied to the corners of the ephod. The men will very carefully weave a cloth belt for the ephod, girdle in the King James. This belt must be made the same way as the ephod. Use gold threads, fine linen, and blue, purple, and red yarn. Okay. Verse 9. Take 2 onyx stones, write the names of the 12 sons of Israel on these jewels. Write 6 names on one jewel and 6 names on the other jewel. Write the names in order, from the oldest son to the youngest. We could get that order right out of Genesis. Verse 11, cut the names of the sons of Israel into these stones. Do this the way a worker makes a seal. Put the jewels in gold settings. Gold settings, this is called ouches in the King James. This is why we are reading the ERV. Put the jewels in gold settings. Then put these 2 jewels on the shoulder pieces of the ephod. Aaron will wear this special coat when he stands before the Lord, and the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel will be on the ephod. These jewels will cause the Lord to remember the Israelites. All right, let's stop. I don't know if you've all seen an ephod, but consider a harness that goes over the shoulder of the priest. It hangs down and is joined with a belt, also called a girdle in the Bible. Upon it is mounted a breastplate. I will put up a picture. But I've seen pictures of very old ones where everything has rotted off except for the frame itself of the ephod. And it just sits down on top of the shoulders. You have to put your arms through it. It's a place, obviously, for the head to come through. And it was made of metal, the ones I've seen. But these things just hang. And then upon the shoulders are these 2 onyx stones with the 12 tribes of Israel inscribed. Why is that important? Because I liken this to, and his government rests upon his shoulders. A lot is of importance is placed on the shoulders by God. It's where the weight is supported, and the government of the world is a weight. This whole thing started out with the weight being put on these 12 tribes. Now, Isaiah's talking about it like, and his government has no end, right? Isaiah says the government of God has no end, and it rests upon his shoulders. What is his shoulders? It's the first part of the body, meaning the church, his body, that you come to below the head, Christ. So there's a lot of significance here that relates to the state of the church and the government of the world today, the kingdom. It's important that all of this hangs. That's important. What did Jesus say? The law and the prophets hang on two commands: love God, love your neighbor. He talked about how everything hangs on. So the fact that this whole get up is hanging from the shoulders is, I think, pretty significant. All right, let's continue on, and we'll just leave it at that, because it's probably easier to get off in the weeds than I thought on some of this stuff. Verse 13, use fine gold to hold the stones on the ephod. All right, that's not a surprise. Twist chains of pure gold together like a rope. Make 2 of these gold chains and fasten them to the gold settings, or the ouches. Verse 15, make the judgment pouch for the high priest. That's the breastplate. Skilled workers should make this pouch just as they made the ephod. They must use gold threads, fine linen, blue, purple, and red yarn. So we have this symbolism woven into everything. The judgment pouch, the breastplate, should be folded double to make a square pocket. It should be 1 span long and 1 span wide. I believe that's about the span of a hand. And yes, it is a pouch, because in it, they are going to put what's called the Urim and the Thummim, or the Urim and Thummim. Nobody knows to this day what these items looked like, but I think of them like dice. And they will be described down below, but well, we'll just save it for then. So those items will be put into the judgment pouch, or the breastplate, a pocket of the breastplate. Verse 17, put 4 rows of beautiful jewels on the judgment pouch. The first row of jewels should have a ruby, a topaz, and a beryl. The second row should have turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald. The third row should have a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row should have a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. Set all these jewels in gold. Okay, so we have 4 rows of 3 jewels on the priestly breastplate, each jewel representing the tribes of Israel in order. All right, so it's possible, if you go over to Genesis to look at the list of the sons of Israel in the birth order, and in a way, figure out which gemstone belongs to them. This is pretty cool and pretty fun exercise, except this list is described in a couple of different places, and it's not really all that easy to figure out which stone is which, because some of these stones have ambiguous names and they flip-flop them. So you would have to go to a source like a rabbinic source that you really trust, and take their word for it that this stone belongs to this particular tribe. Write that down, and then maybe if you want a more fun exercise, compare that bunch of stones to the 9 stones that we find in Satan's ephod, or Lucifer's ephod, when he is what we think the worship director of heaven before the foundations of the world. That's how I think of it. We find that, I believe, in Ezekiel, the king of Tyre, or Tyre. He has an ephod also, only he has 9 stones. So what we could do is figure out what the significance of each of those stones are. Genesis chapter 50, the blessing of Abraham on each son. Find out what their blessing is specifically for each son, and associate that blessing with that stone. If you can figure out which 3 stones are missing, then you can figure out which 3 blessings Satan never really had access to. Never really had it, or lost it at some point. And I say Satan, I mean Lucifer. Satan being not really a proper name in the Hebrew. Many don't know that. Satan means the accuser. Lucifer is a proper name, meaning the angel of light. So he was the bad guy. He became the bad guy with his own ephod. All right, that's another rabbit, but it's a fun one to chase. Let's keep going. Verse 21, there will be 12 jewels on the judgment pouch, one stone for each of the sons of Israel, right? Each stone will be like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes cut in it. Make chains of pure gold for the judgment pouch. These chains must be braided like a rope. We're talking a lot of skill needed here. Make 2 gold rings, put them on 2 corners of the judgment pouch. Put the 2 golden chains through the 2 rings at the corners of the judgment pouch. Fasten the other ends of the gold chains to the 2 settings. This will fasten them to the 2 shoulder pieces of the ephod, so they hang by chains. All right. Make 2 more gold rings and put them on the other 2 corners of the judgment pouch. This will be on the inside edge of the judgment pouch next to the ephod. Okay, I still love breastplate better. It gives me a better visual. Verse 27, make 2 more gold rings and put them on the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod. Put the gold rings above the cloth belt of the ephod. Use blue ribbon to tie the rings of the judgment pouch to the rings of the ephod. In this way, the judgment pouch will rest close to the cloth belt and will be held against the ephod. Can you say detailed explanation, detailed instructions? This must have been fun for Moses to relay. Verse 29. When Aaron enters the holy place, he must wear the judgment pouch. In this way, he will wear the names of the 12 sons of Israel over his heart. And the Lord will always be reminded of him. He will always be reminded of them. I want to just address that quickly. The Lord doesn't have a bad memory, okay? The Lord wants to see a representation of his kids wherever he communes with mankind. He wants to see his kids represented. Okay, this isn't about, oh yeah, those guys, forgot about them. Oh man. No, it's a lot more honorable than that, trust me. So that's what this is talking about right here. And the Lord will always be reminded of them. Okay, verse 30, put the Urim and the Thummim inside the judgment pouch. Those are the 2 pieces I was referring to. They will be over Aaron's heart when he goes before the Lord. So Aaron will always carry with him a way of judging for the Israelites when he is before the Lord. Okay, now let me say this. It is a Hebrew belief, and you can take this farther than this into the early church for absolute sure, that God controls the lot. He controls the lottery, okay? All chance is up to the Lord. We see that in the story of Jonah. Who gets the short straw and gets thrown over? Well, that's Jonah. He's the one. He's the transgressor. Also, we see it in the early church because after Judas dies, then the replacement was drawn by lots. They drew straws. Matthias drew the short straw. He became the replacement for Judas. This is the belief. God controls chance. That's what this whole mechanism was all about. So Aaron will always carry with him a way of judging for the Israelites when he is before the Lord. So whatever these 2 items are, I do think of them similar to dice. So verse 31, make a blue robe for the ephod. Okay, the blue robe representing heaven. Make a hole in the center for the head and sew a piece of cloth around the edge of this hole. This cloth will be like a collar that keeps the hole from tearing, and it becomes of vital importance for the collar, the seam, the hem of the priestly garment to not tear, because many think that it was representative of bad things like the priesthood passing from you. So you can do with that what you will. I can't prove it by scripture, but that is the thought. Bad things happen when the priestly garment tears. What did Caiaphas do when he thought Jesus blasphemed? He tore his garment, even though it doesn't say specifically he was wearing a priestly garment at the time. He tore his garment and he was high priest. Jesus is on the cross. They are tearing all of his things into four so they can sell them. But when they come to his robe, they don't tear it. Now, why not, I wonder? Because the priesthood would never pass from Jesus Christ. Interesting, though. Interesting. It's important to keep that from tearing. Verse 33, use blue, purple, and red yarn to make cloth pomegranates. Hang these pomegranates around the bottom edge of the robe and hang gold bells between the pomegranates. There is a lot of conjecture about how many we're talking. Many, though, from 12 to hundreds of them is what I have read. So we've got pomegranate bell, pomegranate bell, pomegranate bell. You get it. This guy was not going anywhere without being heard. That, I think, is the point. So verse 34, so around the bottom edge of the robe, there should be bells and pomegranates. There should be a bell following each pomegranate. Aaron will wear the robe when he serves as a priest. The bells will ring as Aaron goes into the holy place to stand before the Lord, and the bells will ring as he leaves the holy place. This way, Aaron will not die. And a lot of people make a lot about that statement. I don't know whether to say they make too much of it or not, but you've heard the legend where they tie the rope around the ankle of the high priest as he goes in. Well, most rabbinic says that's a complete lie, that never happened, and that there is no record of a high priest ever dying in the Holy of Holies. Do a little research on it. Why do you think it was important for the priest to be heard as he moved from place to place? It's interesting. Is it a holy, worshipful music kind of thing, or does it have another purpose? Verse 36, make a strip of pure gold and carve these words into the gold, like the writing on a seal. Holy to the Lord. Fasten the gold strip to a blue ribbon. Tie the blue ribbon around the turban. The gold strip should be on the front of the turban. Aaron will wear this on his head. In this way, he will remove the guilt, if anything is wrong, with the gifts that the Israelites give to God. Aaron will always wear this on his head so that the Lord will accept the gifts of the people. There's a lot there in that. Why does it matter that he wears it on his head so that God will accept the gifts of the people? Traditionally, what's mounted on the head represents the way you think, and what's mounted on the hand represents what you do. So thoughts and works. Okay? That should remind you of some things that you might see in the book of Revelation, maybe. Use fine linen to make the white woven robe and the turban. The cloth belt should have designs sewn into it. Also make coats, belts, and cloth caps for Aaron's sons. This will give them honor and respect. Again, that's important to God. Put the clothes on your brother Aaron and his son, then pour the special oil on them to make them priests. They're not priests until a special oil. What do we call that in our vernacular? I would say anointing, that which comes from God and flows down. Okay, that's what makes us priests. This will make them holy, and they will serve me as priests. Verse 42, use linen to make underclothes for the priests. These underclothes will cover them from the waist to the thighs. Aaron and his sons must wear these clothes whenever they enter the meeting tent. Well, they must wear these clothes when they come near to the altar. There we go. To serve as priests in the holy place. If they don't wear these clothes, they will be guilty of wrong and will have to die. All this should be a law that continues forever for Aaron and all his family after him. What gives, with verse 42 and 43, is God so offended by the body he created? My answer to that is no, and it is not about that. What we're seeing here is a transformation. The clothes have become a part of the being, and it has transformed the being into something or someone more holy. Okay, something done in the physical that happened to you and I in the spirit. All right, so this whole thing about wear underwear. Okay, what does it represent? It represents holy what you can see and holy where you can't see. Okay, why did he ask them to cover the inside of the Ark of the Covenant with gold? Simple answer, because it mattered to him that it's gold on the outside as well as gold on the inside where you can't see it. He told Noah, make pitch on the outside of the ark and pitch it on the inside. We want to make sure that what's in is treated as valuable and it is safe, it is secure. So what you can't see matters to God. God sees what even you and I can't see, obviously. But what he has transformed, he's transformed on the inside and on the outside. Pretty strong stuff. And this would be, these two verses right here, you could certainly preach sermons on these. So wow, guys, that is a lot to take in. There is so much material in Exodus 28, probably easily 3 sermons worth without really working up a sweat. Certainly a lot more to talk about if you really wanted to dig, but my goodness, there's a lot there in the priestly garments and God's intentions for his kids and how he wants them to be holy and set aside and set apart and not just outward appearances. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you will take a moment to visit my blog and just get a gist of the other teachings that I have out there. Try to get on the mailing list so you can get one in your email box once every 2 weeks or so when I have the opportunity to write. But I like to teach things there that I can't put out anywhere else. I like to put out things that are more thought-provoking, perhaps. But please visit that. Please visit my sponsor at solwaycoffee.com, SOLWAY coffee.com, and pick yourself up some coffee for your Sunday school class. That would help us out a lot. And I love you guys. Thank you for watching these videos. It means a whole lot to me. It really does. I bless you in Jesus' name, and until next time, peace.